Hey everybody, welcome to Shooting the with Yankee. I am Yankee as always, so let's start shooting. Tonight's topic is more of a mindset question because there is no right or wrong. It's, do you think you should always carry and practice with the same gun, or do you think it's okay to mix it up? Do you think it's okay to have a different gun for doing this and a different gun for doing that? Or are you one of these, samurai, one sword, one gun kind of people? Now, me personally, I think everyone knows I mix it up. I'm a big fan of mixing it up. I carry one type of gun when I want to deep conceal. I carry another type of gun 90% of the time when I'm open carrying. And I'll carry a different type of gun if I'm going someplace where I know I'm going to be around a bunch of people. Like I'll carry something that's more high capacity. Like when I went up to Seattle and I would go into potentially dangerous territory up there when things were going on. I would carry my Beretta because I'd rather have, 16 or so rounds, whatever, of 9mm than I would at that point have 6 rounds of 357 Magnum. So, really depends on what situation I'm going into, what I choose to carry. Now, the one thing I do suggest people do if you're going to switch up your guns, if they're going to be for carry, make sure you stay in kind of the same manual of arms. You just want a gun that you got to pull it out of your holster and do the same thing every time. If you have to release a thumb safety because you carry a 1911, well, then most of your guns you should have to take off a thumb safety. But, as long as the most difficult manual of arms is the one you carry the most, it isn't going to matter if you've got a gun that doesn't have a thumb safety and you automatically thumb it just because that's your normal movement and there's no safety there. You can still pull the trigger. But I wouldn't get used to a gun that you carry 90% of the time that requires you to do, doesn't require you to do things your other guns do, because then when you get to your other guns, because you carry that other gun 90% of the time, you're not going to be used to doing that. Does that make sense to anyone? I tried to explain that simply, but I have a great tendency to make even the simplest thing very difficult because I overthink it. But yeah, I think it's okay to switch up as long as you keep a similar manual of arms, or at least the gun you carry the most often has the most difficult manual of arms. Like with me, every gun I carry is either double action, single action, or double action. With no manual safety, I can just pull it out, pull the trigger. Now, I did just get a gun that does have a manual safety, and I will debate whether I'm going to carry it or not, because that is something I consider. And am I going to be practiced enough with it to make sure I can use it in a bad situation? But since it's a deep concealment gun, it's going to be something that requires a lot more thought to get to, and it gives me more time to actually think about what I need to do with it. But like I said, I will still have to think about that because I like my manual of arms to be the same all the way through. Now, luckily, this gun I can carry with the safety off, but because the safety can be put on while the hammer's down, which I think it can be. I haven't tested it yet, checked yet, but if the safety can be put on with the hammer down, I don't trust it. But I'm getting a little bit too deep into the actual manual of arms here. I want to go see what you all think. What do you feel? Do you think you should stick with the same gun, or do you mix it up? Let's go over here and see what we got to say. Because like I said, these chats are supposed to be more about your opinion than mine. And if you want to weigh in on one of these topics, come into the live chat. We do them every night at 6 p.m., except for Wednesdays when they're at 7 p.m. Let your voice be heard like these people here are doing. Edgar Cortez says, if I'm wearing jeans and an untucked shirt, I carry a 9mm. If I'm wearing a suit, I carry a 380. With a tucked shirt and no jacket, my North American Guardian 32 caliber. You see, I want one of the 32 NAA Guardians. I used to have a Guardian. I think I want to say mine was the 32 also, but I want to get the 32 NAA. I like the little Guardian. I don't know why I got rid of that. Mine was made by Car Arms. It even said car on the side of it, the frame. So I don't know why I ever got rid of that, but I did. I even had little pearl grips on it. It was all purdy and everything. But I don't ever wear suits, so I don't have to worry about things like that. Hell, I hardly ever wear pants. A suit is almost out of the question. Hell, a tucked in shirt's almost out of the question. A suit would be, if you see me in a suit, well, then it's obviously an open casket funeral, because that's about the only time I think you'll ever see me in a suit. I mean, I've done a video in a suit before because I used to wear them, but not anymore. I'm too old. Mr. Furley says, I rotated a G19, G26, and G47 depending on the weather. Well, see, there you're changing size and capacity, but you're keeping the same manual of arms because it's a Glock and they're all the same. So that's kind of along my philosophy there. Dale Rickety says, I have to mix it up depending on location, temperature, who I am with, what I am wearing, how I feel. Every situation has a different outcome. What about when you go to swingers events where you're going to be bottomless most of the night? Because all old people are swingers. Did you not? Most of you out there don't know that, but for some reason, old people love to swing. It's just the thing. If you were raised in the 60s, I guess, late 50s and the 60s, they're just all swingers. I don't know why, but I found it to be true. Yeah, I can understand you have to change for, what you're wearing, what temperature is, who you're with, whether you got to conceal a lot or whether you're with someone you don't, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what guns you switch in between, but like say if someone had different size revolvers, a J frame, KL frame, and N frame sometimes, if they're out in the woods, that's the same manual of arms, different size and different caliber. Micah D said, depends on how adept you are with them. Don't want to carry something you're trying to figure out or not proficient with. That's true. You don't want to have to try to figure out your gun on the spur of the moment. That's why I like guns that you can just pull out and shoot. It's like the little Tomcat I have. If you can carry it with the safety off and the hammer down and just pull it out, it's double action. But I don't know. I'm still wrestling with that. Practical Bacon says, I rotated based on season, occasion, carry bigger in cold weather as bulkier clothes allow, carry smaller in warm weather, and more dressed up affairs. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Although I open carry, so that the weather doesn't affect my carry as much, because since I open carry 90% of the time, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter what I'm wearing. That solves a lot of the problems there. Aaron Talks Firearms says, I use multiple guns. My current rotation is a Smith & Wesson J-frame 357 Magnum, a Taurus Tracker snub nose 44 Magnum, a SIG P365 9mm, and an HK USP 45. So most of those are just pull and shoot, I would say. So it seems like they keep along a similar. That's a wide variety of guns, though, more so than most of the people that have mentioned so far. I haven't seen anybody really say, you got to have one gun and you got to be perfect with it. I haven't seen that. That mindset seems to be lesser nowadays, I think. Ghost Shadow says, mix it up. I can pick up any gun and be moderately proficient, be able to fire HKP7 or anything else, even the really odd guns. Yeah, I mean, if you know the guns, if you're familiar with guns and you shoot a lot, it doesn't take a lot to figure out a gun. Like, I ain't never been dumbfounded by a gun. Now, I don't want to ever be in a situation where I pull my gun quickly and try to fire and the safety's still on, and that allows them to fire first. But how likely is that to happen? That's so rare. I know people love to misrepresent the chances of that by showing like, this one video from a pawn shop that was filmed 20 years ago, and it's never happened again since then. But we still use this one example to tell everyone you got to be able to draw and shoot on a half second's notice, which leads more people into shooting when they shouldn't. Then that does help people save their own lives. Sweetie chimed in and said, if I don't switch it around, I get bored. My rotation for a while has been M&P 40, Gen 1, Shield Plus 9mm, and M642, Model 642. I love all three of them. Well, yeah, and those are different because, you got two semi-automatics and you got a revolver there. Now, if you're carrying the semi-automatics more often, you probably have the ones that don't have safety, so you probably just pull the trigger. If you have a safety and they're the ones you carry more often, well, in the revolver, what are you going to do? Your thumb's going to slide on the side of it before you actually pull the trigger. Not going to hurt anything. Your grip's going to be different. That's the main thing with the revolver. And it looks like that's everybody weighing in tonight. Like I said, we'll say I was surprised that we didn't get any of the samurai types. That used to be way more common. For those of you like me that have been around in the gun community since when it was note cards on a bulletin board at your local bait shop to the forums of the early AOL days and stuff till now, that whole one gun mentality, it's the whole beware the man with the one gun because he might know how to use it, or he might just not like guns and doesn't know how to use it very well at all. Or just might be poor. When I was poor, I only had one gun. So I probably will again someday. But Yeah, I was really surprised to see that mentality doesn't seem to be around as much anymore. At least not in here. Maybe I've educated everybody. That's what I like to think. I think it's because of me and my words of wisdom. But thanks everybody for weighing in. Remember, if you want to weigh in, come to one of our live chats, 6 p.m. every day except for Wednesdays when it's 7 p.m. Or weigh in the comment section of this video. Let me know. Do you switch it up? What do you switch it up with? Do you think you should just have one gun? Like to hear your opinion. But I hope to see you at a live chat someday to hear from you in person. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.